Imagine a world where a pinch of spice was worth more than a chest full of gold. Sounds insane, right? In medieval Europe, spices weren't just flavor. They were power, wealth, and status. Kings hoarded them, merchants killed for them, and entire empires rose and fell over their trade. Why were these tiny bits of flavor so outrageously expensive? And could you guess which ones were valued more than glittering treasure? Stick around, because I'm about to reveal the top 10 medieval spices that cost more than gold. And trust me, some of these will blow your mind. Let's dive into a world of exotic flavors and jaw-dropping history. Picture yourself in a bustling medieval market in 13th century London. The air is thick with the scent of fresh bread, livestock, and something else. Something intoxicating. It's the spice stalls where merchants from distant lands display their wares like rare jewels. These spices didn't just make food taste better. They were a ticket to prestige. Only the ultra-wealthy could afford them, and showing off a spice dish at a banquet was like flexing a private jet today. But why were they so costly? It all came down to their journey. Spices traveled thousands of miles across treacherous deserts, stormy seas, and bandit-infested trade routes from places like India, Indonesia, and the Middle East. Every step added danger and dollars. By the time they reached Europe, their price could skyrocket to 100 times their original cost. Ready to meet the first spice that made medieval nobles empty their coffers? Let's start with a legend, saffron. Saffron wasn't just a spice. It was a status symbol that screamed wealth. Derived from the delicate stigmas of the crocus flower, it took 150,000 flowers to produce just 1 kilogram of saffron. Imagine the labor. Workers toiling under the scorching sun, hand-picking each tiny thread. In medieval Europe, saffron was so precious that it was often locked in vaults alongside gold and jewels. A single pound could cost as much as a fully equipped warhorse. Think $10,000 in today's money for a handful of spice. Nobles used it to dye their food vibrant yellow, signaling to their guests, "I'm rich enough to eat gold." But here's the kicker. Saffron was also believed to cure everything from the plague to a broken heart. Apothecaries prescribed it like a medieval miracle drug, driving demand even higher. Have you ever tried saffron in your cooking? Drop a comment below and tell me how it compares to hype, or if you think it's worth its medieval price tag. Now, let's shift gears to a spice that's still a kitchen staple today, but was pure luxury back then, black pepper. If saffron was a king of spices, black pepper was a queen, versatile, coveted, and insanely expensive. Grown on the Malabar coast of India, peppercorns were so valuable that they were counted out individually, like precious gems. In the 1400s, a pound of pepper could buy you a plot of land or pay a year's rent in London. Why the hype? Pepper's sharp. Fiery kick transformed bland medieval dishes like porridge or boiled mutton into something exciting. Plus, it was a preservative, keeping meat edible longer in a world without refrigerators. Wealthy merchants even used pepper as currency. Imagine paying your taxes with a sack of peppercorns. But getting it to Europe was no joke. Pepper traveled over 5,000 miles, passing to the hands of Arab traders, Venetian middlemen, and pirates, each adding their cut. The result? A spice worth more than its weight in silver. Think pepper is just a boring shaker on your table? Tell me in the comments what you'd trade for a pound of medieval pepper. Let's travel further east for our next spice, cloves. These tiny, nail-shaped buds from the Molucca Islands were so rare in medieval Europe that they fetched prices higher than gold. Cloves were prized for their intense, warm flavor, perfect for spicing wine or preserving fruit. But their real value came from their supposed medicinal powers. Medieval doctors claimed cloves could cure toothaches, boost digestion, and even ward off evil spirits. A single ounce could cost as much as a skilled craftsman's monthly wages. The catch? Cloves only grew on a handful of volcanic islands in modern-day Indonesia, and the journey to Europe was a nightmare of storms, shipwrecks, and raids. By the time they reached a noble's table, cloves were a flex of global connections. The Portuguese and Dutch later fought wars to control the clove trade, spilling blood for these tiny buds. Ever wonder what cloves taste like in a medieval recipe? Share your thoughts below. I'm curious if you'd splash out for this spice. Speaking of exotic, let's talk about cinnamon, a spice so luxurious it was gifted to kings. Sourced from the bark of trees in Sri Lanka, Cinnamon was a medieval must-have for the elite. Its sweet, woody aroma elevated desserts, meats, and even beer. But here's the wild part. Cinnamon was shrouded in myth. Traders spun tales that it came from mysterious birds' nests guarded by snakes, inflating its mystique and price. A pound of cinnamon could cost as much as a cow or a suit of armor, around $5,000 today. It wasn't just about flavor. Cinnamon was a social weapon. Serving cinnamon spice dishes at a feast showed you had connections to far-off lands. Monasteries even used it in religious rituals, believing its scent pleased God. The trade was controlled by Arab merchants who kept their sources secret, making cinnamon a spice of intrigue. Got a favorite cinnamon dish? Drop in the comments, and let's see if it matches medieval tastes. Next up is nutmeg, a spice that sparked wars and shaped empires. Grown on the tiny Banda Islands, nutmeg was another gold-tier spice in medieval Europe. Its warm, nutty flavor was perfect for mulled wine and puddings, but its price came from scarcity and danger. Only a few islands produced nutmeg, and the journey to Europe involved dodging pirates and monsoons. By the 1400s, a pound of nutmeg could cost as much as 7 oxen. Think $20,000 today. Nobles loved it for its versatility, but apothecaries swore it could cure insomnia, bad breath, and even the Black Death. Demand was so high that the Dutch later massacred entire islands to monopolize the trade. Crazy, right? Nutmeg's value wasn't just culinary. It was a geopolitical chess piece. Ever tried nutmeg in a holiday recipe? Tell me below what you think of its medieval hype. Let's spice things up with mace, nutmeg's lesser-known cousin. Mace comes from the red, lacy coating around a nutmeg seed, and in medieval Europe, it was just as pricey. Its flavor, sharper and more peppery than nutmeg, made it a favorite for savory dishes like stews and sauces. But mace's cost came from its rarity. Only a fraction of the nutmeg harvest yielded mace, and every ounce was fought over. A small bag could cost as much as a horse or a year's supply of grain. Like nutmeg, mace was believed to have medicinal powers, from aiding digestion to boosting virility. The elite sprinkled it on everything to show off their wealth, but getting it meant braving the same perilous trade routes. The Venetians and Genoese dominated the mace trade, charging whatever the market could bear. Think mace deserves a comeback in modern cooking? Share your take in the comments. I'm all ears. Now, let's explore a spice that's less familiar today. Grains of paradise. These peppery seeds from West Africa were a medieval obsession, valued for their zesty, citrusy kick. In the 1300s, they were worth more than gold because of their rarity and the grueling journey across the Sahara. Caravans braved sandstorms and bandits to bring them to Europe, where they spiced up everything from beer to roasts. Grains of paradise were also a status symbol. Only the richest could afford to season their food with these heavenly seeds. Medieval doctors claimed they boosted energy and cured fevers, adding to their allure. The catch? Supply was unpredictable and prices soared. By the 1500s, they fell out of favor as pepper became cheaper, but for a time, they were the ultimate flex. Ever heard of grains of paradise? Let me know in the comments if you tried this forgotten spice. Let's turn to cardamom, a spice that's still a star in chai, but was pure decadence in medieval Europe. Grown in India's lush forests, cardamom sweet, floral notes made it a favorite for desserts and drinks. But its price was astronomical. A single pound could cost as much as a skilled artisan's annual salary. Why? Cardamom's harvest was labor-intensive, and the trade route to the Red Sea was plagued by pirates and storms. In Europe, it was a royal favorite. Kings like Edward III used it to impress foreign dignitaries. Cardamom also had a reputation as an aphrodisiac, which didn't hurt its popularity at court. The spice's green pods were so valuable, they were often sold by the pod, not by weight. Imagine paying $100 for a single pod. Got a cardamom recipe you love? Share below and let's compare notes. Next, we have ginger, a spice that brought heat and prestige to medieval tables. Sourced from India and China, ginger's fiery, zesty flavor was a hit in everything from candies to meat dishes. But its cost was staggering. A pound could buy you a flock of sheep or a fine sword. Ginger's journey across the Silk Road was fraught with danger, and taxes from multiple empires jacked up the price. In medieval Europe, it was a dual-purpose spice. Cooks loved it for flavor, while healers prescribed it for colds, stomach aches, and even infertility. Nobles sprinkled ginger on their food to flaunt their wealth, and it became a staple in royal kitchens. The spice's versatility made it a must-have, but only the elite could afford it. Ever use ginger in a medieval-inspired dish? Drop your recipe in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Finally, let's talk about long pepper, a spice that's almost forgotten today, but was a medieval blockbuster. Grown in India, long pepper was spicier and more complex than black pepper, making it a favorite for bold dishes. Its price rivaled gold because of its scarcity and the brutal trade routes through Central Asia. A small sack could cost as much as a war horse or a year's wages for a night. Long pepper was also a medicinal superstar. Doctors claimed it could cure everything from headaches to low energy. The elite loved its exotic flair, and serving it at a banquet was a power move. By the 1500s, black pepper overtook it. But for centuries, long pepper was the spice of choice for Europe's richest. Ever heard of long pepper? Tell me in the comments if you think it deserves a revival. So, there you have it. The top 10 medieval spices that cost more than gold. From saffron's golden glow to long pepper's fiery kick, these spices weren't just about flavor. They were about power, prestige, and survival. They shaped trade routes, sparked wars, and defined what it meant to be wealthy in medieval Europe. Next time you sprinkle pepper on your dinner, remember, you're using a spice that once bankrupted nobles and built empires. Pretty wild, right? Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these spices shocked you the most? Would you pay a fortune for a pinch of saffron or a handful of cloves? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more mind-blowing history. And don't miss my next video, where we'll uncover another medieval secret that'll leave you speechless. See you there.